Hello everyone, it's the 2-Minute Terminator. I'm Ethan McKinley and we are here with the first day of our amazing All-Star Week with Scott Carelli and Nick Jimenez. Have I pronounced that correctly, guys?
It's a silent J. It's like Jimenez or however you want to say it.
Jimenez!
I knew I'd blow it.
You're fine.
Yes, we are here. I'm obviously doing this because I was drafted into the world of Zencastering and All-Star Weeking with these two lovely guys. So it's honoured to have you on the show, guys. Thank you for coming on and giving me your precious time and your insight to 2 minutes of a film that's not as good as the films you talk about.
We are honoured to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Well,
we're honoured to have you on the show.
For anyone listening, we are going from minutes 4 to 6. It's episode 3 of the 2-Minute Terminator, where we break down the Terminator films 2 minutes at a time.
By the way, I'm the co-host. I'm Ellie Fitzgerald, seeing as Ethan's actually just forgot to mention that.
I was
completely sideline it. It's because I'm a girl.
Shut up, woman. You're meant to be recording from the kitchen. As is always the tradition, Ellie, do you want to ask our esteemed guests if they want to...
Do you want to hit the music, guys?
Yeah, hit it.
We're off.
Yeah, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Howdy, stranger.
Don't say howdy, stranger, to me.
Load up.
You didn't do the fourth.
Thank God. It sucked. It's so good.
Okay, yes, we are here, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is season 5 of the 2-Minute Terminator. We're talking about one of the better, maybe, in commerce films of the Terminator franchise.
Yes.
It's minutes 4 to 6. It opens with a dog looming out of the dark, which I think we're led to believe is a Terminator with its glowing eyes as it comes towards a young Carl Reese. And it ends, of course, with an adult Carl Reese walking with a still adult, John Connor, played by the man of the moment, Jason Lewis. Ellie, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't give you a proper intro before.
Fine, you're all excited. This whole Star Week has just really,
My brain is on fire.
Ethan's engine. He's just like, oh my God.
Did you just switch Jason Clarke's name with Lewis? Like you switched up Lewis and Clark, like the Explorers?
I went...
No, Ethan's just panicking.
I am panicking because not only are the special guests picking apart the clips today, they're going to pick apart the co-hosts, which you're allowed to do because I make more guffaws than you wouldn't believe. Yes, if you are listening and you missed the intro, everyone, we are talking to Scott Carelli and Nick Jimenez.
Jimenez.
I like that.
I wish there was. I'm trying to think of an analogy I could use, but I'm drawing a blank.
I'll come back to that one.
They're from Back to the Future Minute. If you actually go on our webpage, you can find links to all the Minute shows now. And I want to thank you guys in advance for not doing the show last week, because I think I bit off more than I could chew. It's like trying to herd cats. You guys know this because you have more special guests than me and Ellie do. But yeah, 2 was enough, I think, last week. Doing Airport Min Jim and Kyle and Brady from Ghostbusters Minute was just too much. I think trying to squeeze you in as well, I think it would have affected the quality of the show.
It was really good, though. It was really interesting to just talk to other people.
We are going to swing back and forth. We're going to talk about your show as well and give you your obvious due. This film has some links, I feel, with Terminator Genesis has links with Back to the Future 2 in the sense we do a kind of pseudo beta remake / revisit of the first film, but from a different angle, featuring the same characters, seeing themselves do the very thing that started the franchise, as it were. I mean, yeah, did you guys pick that up? Because it's not your favorite film, is it? The second Back to the Future. It's actually weirdly mine.
when we were first starting out, I was making these like kind of coy, obnoxious jokes about how I was kind of looking forward to part 2 the least of the 3 parts of our journey. But now that we've basically come to the end of it, I mean we're covering the end credits now. I've actually become a big defender of Back to the Future Part 2, and I just compared to I think a lot of the sequels that we've been getting in the multiplexes this year, I just have to give props for that movie for just doing a lot of really weird stuff, kind of similar to what this movie's doing, and kind of playing with the idea of being a sequel instead of just, you know, like we're in Las Vegas again, or like, and you know, so I've come around on Back to the Future Part 2. I think it's underrated.
I feel like Ethan, you did that with Terminator Salvation. You just kept giving excuses for why it was just so goddamn rubbish. Like, Ethan, like, what is going on? You're like a Salvation sympathizer.
I think because the third one, I go back and forth on both of them, that they're kind of like, the third one is a kind of parody of all the Terminators and Arnold films in general, that it's kind of laughing at itself, and I'm not sure if it was perhaps the right tone. By the same token, the fourth one is shot in the daytime. They changed the look of the kind of future war a little bit. It was all like rotten and dirty and rusty and stuff, and that didn't quite work either. With this, they've kind of gone back, and I earmark it to Back to the Future 2, of course, and that's why I wanted you guys on, because I think consistently as a film series, Back to the Future, I think, is the best one. In fact, there's not really a bum note, even though like people go back and forth on which one they like the most. I think as a whole, perhaps as you could say the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because they were made at the same time as one big film, then cut into three. I think Back to the Future has that luxury. They did 2 and 3 back to back, and because of that, they kind of all connect and work a little bit better.
Scott, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if I remember correctly, don't you have like a really? You once pitched me a really interesting, like, way they could have made Salvation like very cool, and I remember really digging it. Do you happen to remember that?
Was it Salvation?
I think it was Salvation, because it was about. It was like it should have been. I think you said the movie should have been like John Connor, Kyle Reesing Kyle Reese.
Oh, right. Yeah. My pitch was basically that, like, John Connor goes back to the beginning of the war to save Kyle Reese.
Right.
For one reason or another. And I felt like that would have been better. Because, like, I don't know. Salvation's really bad. And the only saving grace of Salvation is Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese, I think.
He's great. Yeah.
He's really phenomenal. In fact, that's one of the things that bums me out about Genesis, because
they could have brought him back.
Yeah, and this guy's just boring. He's not as boring as I was afraid he was going to be. He had a little bit more charisma than like Cardboard, like Sam Worthington.
We're talking about Jai Courtney, right? Well,
right.
Yeah.
Sam Worthington had like 0 charisma in Salvation, so at least Jai Courtney had a little bit. But
we said this on the show. You mentioned Sam Worthington and Jai Courtney in the same breath. They get connected a lot, I think, because every generation or every like 5 or 10 years, we get kind of foisted upon an actor that the studios, they put into these gigantic projects. They come out of completely out of nowhere, and they don't do very much, and they don't have, like, as you can say what you like about, let's say, Tom Cruise or Mel Gibson or that, but when they're on screen, they hold the absolute center of the screen. They have this electrifying screen presence, and I think studios kind of like, they distribute the power evenly among a cast. They don't really have movie stars anymore. They just kind of like, they stuff actors into these franchises, and then they disappear as quickly as they appeared, like Sam Worthington, who was in Terminator and Avatar, 2 gigantic films, and then they disappear again. And I think Jai Courtney has now kind of slightly redeemed himself. If you've seen Suicide Squad, he's actually really good in that, I think, and he's not very good in this because he doesn't look like some strung out, starving, like post-apocalyptic warrior. He looks like some gigantic buff.
But he doesn't look strung out there at all. In fact, I think he looks rather plump in the face.
So I mean, you're right.
Well,
it's just the way Michael Biehn had that look.
Whoever his hairdresser is, well done.
He looks very well fed.
He really
and
does.
it's sort of a shame, because you go back to Terminator and you look at Michael Biehn, and I don't know, you kind of realize that the people that have subsequently made these Terminator movies kind of really, in my opinion, don't really understand what made Kyle Reese such an interesting character. Scott and I just got done talking about Romancing the Stone yesterday, because we're making our way through all of Zemeckis' other movies for like our weekend edition. And one of the things I really like about Michael Douglas in Romancing the Stone is he's really kind of like strung out, and he smokes pot, and like he listens to the Doobie Brothers, and like you're like,
but he's not a good guy either, is he? Because he's up to the like nearly the end of the film. He's still going to steal. I think the briefcase when he sleeps with her, doesn't he? I think her stuff is there, and he's going to take it. But then he reappears in his like lovely white flannel shirt for the flamenco dancing scene.
Totally, yeah. And one of the great things about Michael Bihn's performance in the original Terminator is like you see this guy, and he's on his last rope. You know what I mean? Like it is closing time for this guy.
It's believable. He looks like he's from a post-apocalyptic environment.
That's why.
Not
That's
all-
why the original Terminator is my favorite. I know you guys are big T2 fans here, but I think.
Do you know what? Though? It's really close for me. It really is because I just love the '80s feel
Well,
of the
Terminator
first
1's more
film
of a horror
and
film,
Brad
I think,
Fiddle
isn't it? And the second one's like the way you compare.
It's really gritty.
Yeah.
And it's really
Well, and
raw,
I
it's
think
great.
it's a stakes thing for me because the idea of two humans running away from a killer robot is way more scary and threatening than a robot protecting two humans from another robot.
To me, it's sort of like the Aliens question, where they're both perfect and revolutionary movies. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
it almost comes down to a question of taste. Like, do you prefer one woman up against this like nihilistic force of chaos and evil, or like this, rip roaring sci-fi, pro-military adventure?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Just while we're talking about that, what is your favourite? Let's go Scott first. Alien or Aliens?
Oh, Alien.
Oh, really?
And then Nick.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not the biggest Aliens fan. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun movie.
Alex, down the line.
I think it's a fun movie, but
Get her.
I think it's a fun movie, and I don't think it's like poorly made or anything like that. It's just like my personal preference is I like the mystery and the tone of the first one, whereas like the second one, I mean, you've got the actress from T2 in like brown face as like a Mexican lady, and it's I don't know. It's very of its time.
Goldstein as Vasquez. I was just trying to do the mental
Yeah.
Rolodex then. Yeah. Who
Yeah,
played John Connor's mother.
I love Alien because I feel like it's timeless, whereas Aliens feels very much of its time, like of a place
80s.
after Terminator in the 80s. Like it's very specifically an 80s movie to me.
Well, the first one's like a Lovecraft. It's very base, like Lovecraft sexual
First one's 79.
kind of
isn't it?
subtext and stuff. It's like a haunted house movie, whereas like you said, the second one is just like all out balls to the wall.
Oh, I see now, Ethan.
on what?
Reneging.
No, I'm agreeing. I love both films, but I prefer Aliens. I think I love Aliens because it was very like a coming of age film for me. I was 10 or 11, it came out, and I just wore the tape out watching it. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. But I think it's interesting that, like Cameron did with the Alien series, whatever you think of like the Terminator ones as well, he takes an idea and he's able to kind of spin it into something people still fight, as we're talking about now to this day, between which one's better. And I'm interested to see what he's going to do with Avatar, because everyone thinks he's hung out to dry and he's done. How's he going to make these 4 films work? And I think he's going to surprise people. I really do. I loved Avatar. I know people didn't like it, but I think if you saw it,
Come on, James.
I think if you saw it in IMAX in London, which is the biggest one in our country, it was a fantastic experience. So I'm really looking forward to what he does with it next.
I'm also interested to see what he does next, especially since he's supposedly going to shoot it in 60 frames per second, which I don't even know what that's going to look like. But I kind of miss the days where he would come in and take a left turn on a franchise.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm kind of hoping that that's what this is. But I think it would be a lot of fun if he just, like, came in and did, like, I don't know, like the next Superman movie or something. It just did, like, a crazy left turn and just made a James Cameron Superman movie. And everyone's like, what is this? Oh, my God.
I do wish we were...
Mind's blown.
Put Superman in Avatar. He arrives on Avatar and he's at Superman ship. He's like from Earth, maybe.
Yeah.
The Brandon Routh version. He was searching for Krypton. He comes across like Pandora. The second one, I think, he's going to be set underwater though. I think that's why he's done all that underwater stuff recently. He bottom of the San Andreas Fault, and he's like this underwater explorer guy now, and this like philanthropist. That's what the second one's more about, and I think the other ones are about the different planets and the moons in the system and stuff. So, and like Quaritch, the guy's coming back who died apparently, and Sigourney's coming back, who spoilers dies apparently. So he's going to try and bring those characters back. I'm really interested to see how he does that, because it's such a final word, a bit like you said, these films. The Terminator is such a final statement. How could you have made a sequel out of this film? And yet he found a way. So I don't know. It would be interesting.
Well, didn't Aowa like absorb Sigourney Weaver's soul like into the tree matrix or whatever?
Oh, right.
I think that's why I assumed, because I wrongfully or rightfully, I assumed the planet fights back because she kind of was in the planet then, and she kind of like convinced the planet that she was part of the sky people, as it were. The planet knew what they were all about, and that's why all the animals and plants turned on them, as it were. But I don't know.
Eowa has heard you, Jake Sully.
Yeah, Jake Sully, you're like
So-
a baby.
So I have a question about
Yes.
about this scene that we're watching. If my memory
Thank
serves,
you for not making me choose between Alien and Aliens, by the way.
I was going to say, I asked Nick about 20 minutes ago. That escalated quickly.
I even like Alien 3, by the way. I think, even though for all its flaws, and I hated what they did with it, but as a standalone kind of odd film.
You just like it because Sigourney Weaver's got a bald head and you've got a weird fetish for chicks with
can I
bald
say?
You're
heads.
having a good year then.
Nice. Right, question.
Oh,
This 2 minutes.
yeah. So if I remember correctly, in Terminator Salvation, they do the annoying prequel thing where they explain where. Like they explain Kyle Reese's jacket, even though that doesn't make any sense because he doesn't bring the jacket back to the 80s because he has to come back naked. Whatever, McGee. Anyway, but they explain John Connor's scar, right? Like they're in the factory and the thing like grabs his face and scratches his face, and that's where he gets the scar. So, and Kyle is in that movie as like an older teenager, early 20s guy. So how does Kyle, or how does John Connor have the scar when he's dropping down to save Kyle in the sewer as a child?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I did notice the scar and notice it's got a lot more elaborate since the previous films.
Oh, okay. Well,
But yeah, that's a really good point. Once again, I think this timeline is just
because
so
they're not
skewed.
connected,
don't
are they?
know
I
what's
think
happening.
I'm not sure I've read it anyway, but I think this is the spiritual sequel to Terminator 2. I think the third one and the fourth one were meant to be part of a trilogy, and I think 3 underperformed. Arnold went into office, so he didn't want to do any more films, and then they kind of like cobbled together Terminator Salvation, which of course had its own problems and Christian Bale and stuff. And weirdly, I've said this ad infinitum on the show, but in case you guys not heard, the original Twilight Zone-y ending to Terminator Salvation, which I think would have been better, which they dumped basically. Christian Bale came on board and was going to be asked to play Marcus Wright, the Sam Worthington role, the machine man experiment basically. He came on board and wanted to play John Connor, so they sidelined that role a bit and boosted John Connor's role. In the original ending of the film, obviously spoilers if you've not listened or watched the films, Christian Bale gets his heart damaged and has the heart transplanted from Marcus Wright into his chest, and he fights on as John Connor. In the original ending, before Marcus Wright was a front and center character and Bale didn't come on board, it was going to be John Connor was going to die. They were going to cover it up, and then Marcus Wright was going to assume his identity and then lead humanity against the machines because he was half machine. He had all the inside track on SkyNet and was also human.
That's
Sort of
right.
a
I remember
Robert
that.
situation.
War, and that was the twist.
I
And
know, it would have been
it would have been
so
such a
much
better ending, I think, that it was a machine that actually won the war, fought back the mix of the two versus it was just it was John Connor.
Yeah.
You are the resistance. I'm lisping from my bottom teeth.
Well, maybe at that point they knew they wanted to do another film or another Terminator film was going to happen, and if you killed John Connor, then
Well, this again is meant to
That
be
would
part of a
screw it
new
up for,
trilogy,
like,
so I
another
think
movie,
this
no?
is kind of like it's connected, but it's kind of not. It's meant to be the first of a trilogy, and they've kind of forgotten all
basically
those
what
things.
they're doing is they're doing the same thing to this as what they did to
Yeah,
Star Wars.
they've remade, they've remade part of the first one, and then done their own thing, which I guess people are arguing right now over what Star Wars, which I kind of agree with them. That's what let me down with the Force Awakens a little bit. It was kind of like a retread. Hopefully, they won't do that for the second one. I think Rogue One looks really good, and it feels weirdly to me more Star Wars than the Force Awakens. I'm not sure.
I defend the retread in Force Awakens because the villains are like a bunch of whiny 20-somethings who just want to be like these people these bad people that they look up to. So of course they copy them and make their own Death Star because they don't have any original ideas.
Sure. Well, I think also economically, I think because Star Wars worked, they thought, well, if we kind of like hit the beats that kind of connected the public to it in the first place, just to restart.
That just makes it insane.
I look at Force Awakens. You know, when you're a fan of a band or a musical artist for decades, think about like Beck or like the Rolling Stones. Sometimes they'll put out an album that's sort of like a spiritual successor. Like Morning Phase was kind of a spiritual successor to what was the breakup one? Sea Change.
Right.
And so I kind of look at Force Awakens as sort of like a cover album of A New Hope, and I think it. And J.J. Abrams has said that like the kind of modus operandi of that movie was to make it delightful, like what will delight audiences, and yeah, I think that's one of the most delightful movies in recent memory, and so I think it needed what needed to be done. I think it was a hit album with a bunch of singles, and now I'm kind of looking forward to Rian Johnson being able to, to quote Frank Reynolds, get weird with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting where they go with it. But yeah, weirdly, I'm more looking forward to Rogue One. I'm not sure because it's connected to the old Star Wars and it has the look. I don't know.
There's something very, like, spiritually...
It looks 70s.
Yeah. And he just...
I'm sorry, but I just can't get spiritual.
It's like viscerally Star Wars. It feels very Star
like
Wars.
When you see those old style stormtroopers on a beach, like, whoa, what is this?
Spring Break Stormtrooper.
Spring Break Stormtroopers. Yeah, 22. By the way, before we on the subject of Salvation, I also dislike that movie. I remember it coming off of a weekend where I saw Star Trek and was like, this is amazing, and then Wolverine, and then I was like, well, that's not really good, and then Terminator, and I was like, what the hell happened?
What is going on?
Saying that, this summer's not been a good summer either, has it?
No, it hasn't.
No, it is not.
But I will say, the trailer for Terminator Salvation, set to The Day the World Went Away by Nine Inch Nails, to this day, I think that's one of the best teaser trailers for...
I agree with that. It makes it look really good. I thought the opening of Salvation, I was like, from the opening of this movie, it looks like it's going to be great. But then I thought the storyline was rubbish. I feel like the cast was just terrible. That whole Moon Bloodgood inclusion was just...
That's why you don't.
Absolutely nuts.
That's why you don't let actors drive the ship. They need to be actors.
Right, exactly. You should have just stood up to bullshit Bale and been like, "No, I'm directing this film. Come on,
they
Richie."
let him push the movie around, and then he just spent the entire production pushing the movie around.
Yeah. And then he pushed the poor lighting guy around, and then he pushed his mum around, and he does
Punch
a
your
lot
mother
of
with that
mouth. Right, I want to bring it back to this 2 minutes. I have a few qualms with the dog in this scene. One, I don't think it is a Terminator dog, because why would it kick up a fuss about when the Terminator comes down
because dogs recognise Terminators. That's why the Resistance keeps them.
I think it's the thing.
That's from the first movie. Oh my God! Exactly when it pauses against the bars, I always think the head's going to split like a flower. It's so weird, that tiny moment. I said that the other day before we even were talking about the clips without recording, like a few days ago. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Ethan's excited.
Crossing the streams, I like it.
Your voice always goes really high pitched, like woo! You're like a giddy schoolgirl. But again, how did that dog get down and behind like a barred kind of gate thing? Again, it looks really. That dog could almost be on Crufts. I would have thought that dog would look a lot more kind of.
John Connor could be on Crufts as well. Everyone looks very well fed, and I think our future minute Jim mentioned that everyone does look very healthy and clean shaven, considering there's no Gillette or razors and things.
My other issue with the whole dog, like acknowledging and recognizing that there's some kind of like threat when the Terminator comes down the passageway, and that is dogs pick up on other like sentient beings. I don't know that a dog would necessarily pick up on a machine. I know it's like bearing a gun, and obviously the child feels threatened or he's scared, but at the same time, I don't know that dogs would really. It'd be like a dog registering a concern.
Well, I mean, dogs react pretty profoundly to vacuums.
Yeah.
Misty
really?
does. I don't.
Yeah, they don't like vacuums, and you can get those like little wind up toys and that like, or like if you've ever like driven like an RC car around a dog, they go nuts.
I have a Jack Russell Terrier named Lizzie, and I was home for the holidays, and my mom bought this little electronic Jack Russell Terrier looking dog with a Santa hat that when you pressed its paw, it like sang a little Christmas carol, and so I curiously I put it in front of Lizzie and pressed the button, and just the existential dread that my dog had at watching this like
Back is trying to kill you, master.
yeah, this like weird robot perversion of itself. Like,
What did I
what
do?
is this?
You maniac, you blew it up. I was going to say, where is it now? The I'd Love to Change the World song from the trailer for this movie, not Salvation, is also featured in another Jason Clarke film, the new Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was really good, even though I'm not a big fan of the Planet of the Apes films. I never get the concept of all the monkeys have taken over.
Oh yeah, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes I think was one of the best movies of that year.
Yeah, the new ones are really, really good.
Oh,
like
yeah.
special effects wise, but also the stories and stuff. They've really, I didn't think they'd be able to translate it into a modern like audience and stuff, but they've done a really good job. I was going to say as well, the barcode that gets read in this film, barcodes don't work this way, everyone listening. In the film, it scans up and down the barcode. Barcodes don't work that way. They scan the entire thing at the same time. So there you go. That's a cock up for you in reverse, Ellie. Bing.
Cock up.
Is this
that happening in this
Terminator? Because it looks like his. Is he holding a gun or is his arm a gun?
I think he's holding it.
Holding a gun.
Okay.
I was gonna say, is this
Although
a
that's
T-shirt?
Yeah,
fair thing,
that
because
was the
it's
other
not-
question I had.
it's
Is this
not a
one of
gun
the?
we've seen.
Is this
Yeah.
one of the rubber dudes? The.
I'd assume so, because it's not. They've not really covered it in the lore, have they? I know they're doing the series, which the Ghostbusters guys said was actually better than nearly all the films, including. Well, they said better at 4 out of the 5 films with the series with Lena Headey as Sarah Connor and stuff. I've not seen it.
The series is phenomenal. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 2 votes for it. Why was it? It was cancelled after 2 seasons, though, wasn't it? Something, right?
Yeah, it was. It was too smart for network television, I think.
And wasn't it on Friday nights?
It was eventually moved to Friday nights. Yeah.
Which is a death sentence here in America.
In other words, where everyone's
Yeah,
out.
it was too
yeah.
smart to get really high ratings, and it was too expensive to survive without high ratings.
It was sort of ahead of its time.
Why was it so expensive?
Well, it's robots and special effects and visual
Yeah.
effects, isn't it, and stuff, I'd imagine.
Yeah, a lot of visual effects and explosions and things. I mean, you can't have a Terminator or anything without lots of explosions. So
And this was
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
true.
and this was at a time, I mean, like you look at now and you can it's easy for a child or a teenager to take things for granted when like 4 out of the 5 nights on TV there's like this big unadulterated superhero blockbuster on primetime, but the genre wasn't really a proven thing back then. So
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit ahead of its time. I haven't watched any of it, but I mean, I think I saw the pilot. I remember the one where I remember a drug dealer explaining to Sarah Connor what 9/11 was.
yeah, that's a great moment. Oh man, that pilot is so good. Oh, yeah.
Wow, I'm dreading watching this even less and less the more
and then,
people I talk to about it. I thought
We
it
can
was
squeeze another year out of it, Ellie. Come on.
And then Summer Glau is Summer
Oh,
Glau
dude,
is a
no, I've already
Terminator.
told you,
This is
I'm
genius.
Sarah Connor second.
it,
We'll
we'll do.
keep it going for 10 years.
Sarah
And
Connor
if,
second.
and if you guys are Firefly fans, Summer Glau is a Terminator.
Yeah.
She is. Well, I've not seen Firefly, but I've seen Serenity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was good, but I've never actually seen the series. One series I did like, which got cancelled after season 2, was Peggy Carter.
That was
I
a really
love
good
that.
show.
It was like The Rocketeer, but
Yeah.
with a chick. It had that kind of feeling to it. It was kind of a simple, a 1940 set, really cool series. I'm not really a big follower of series, really. I kind of get like
That's rubbish. You love a
series
series.
fatigue. I think like Game of Thrones is 10. I think that's enough. I think they got it right with Peggy Carter with 8 episodes, but no one ever really does that. I think The Walking Dead suffers greatly because they go for like 16 and 18 episodes, don't they? And there's like a ton of filler.
I just can't commit to that. It's
Yeah,
just too long.
16's too many. I think 8 to 10 is the balance. I think, and 10's pushing it for me as well.
This is a rift between the ponds, I think, because it's
Yeah,
your British television going like 3 seasons of 6 episodes and then done and over forever.
Well, Sherlock's like, is it 1 season of 1 episode or 2 episodes? I think Sherlock's 3 seasons, but it's 2 episodes, isn't it?
three
seasons.
episode, 3 90-minute episodes a season, I think.
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
It's got to be more than
I
that.
don't know. That's
because it was
No, I swear there's
So
more
we
than
know when to
that.
quit.
I know that there's only
Yeah,
3
there's
seasons.
only 9 episodes and then like a New Year's special.
the Abominable Bride.
Yeah, that was 10 episodes total. That's all it is.
Which is the one set in the 1800s or the turn of the century, right? Which
Right.
Ellie's
Sort
interesting.
of like an
'cause she don't
Elseworlds tale.
Yeah.
You don't like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock, and you don't like the modern Sherlock.
I don't.
You like
I really
the Jeremy
don't.
Brett one.
Because it wasn't Sherlock Holmes. They completely changed it. They're trying to make him this like edgy, cool. It was when Irene Adler came in, and it was a woman like getting one over on Sherlock Holmes. I was like, no, that actually doesn't happen because they make such a big Conan Doyle made such a big deal about the fact that Sherlock Holmes wasn't affected by women. He never had like female interest. Well, he had interest, but just know the whole idea of females is they cloud your judgment, which I actually agree with. They cloud your judgment.
If you go to a feminist rally, anyone, don't take Ellie Wig.
They're irrational creatures, and yet literally 5 or 10 minutes into the beginning of the film, and Irene Adler's coming in, and she's like, owning the show, getting one better on Sherlock. And I was like, this is not Sherlock Holmes. I'm out. I left the building, literally. I was like, no, this is not. It's just, it wasn't Sherlock at all. Plus, I hate Robert Downey Jr.
Ellie, your 1950s values warm my heart. Get back in the kitchen.
I only like him in Iron I only like him in Iron Man, and know this.
Well, he was one you didn't like either until, you actually saw the films he was in.
No, I like him in Iron Man, and that is it. I just think he's an absolute arse. But the thing is I know that some people play up to that, but I think in real life he is just an arse.
Oh man!
Well, I love Robert Downey Jr. on and off screen. So.
Yeah, but Ethan, that's because you basically are. You're like the British version without all the millions of dollars or whatever.
The charm. Yeah, I know.
No, you've got the talent and the charm, but unfortunately, like you don't know anyone in the business, so you're not like at Robert Downey Jr. level. But dude,
well,
you
I know
so
the
could
Ghostbusters guys, and since I've met them, my podcasting-ness has improved in quality ever since.
You're Robert Downey Jr. in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Pre-junkie, pre-Iron Man Robert Downey Jr.
You just gotta get into Shaggy Dog, and you'll start making some connections.
Exactly.
I have another question about this 2 minutes. So it kind of goes back to something that we said earlier, and that is that we think that this is a T600. It must be rubber skin. Now, when John Connor comes down that like gate bit, or
the grating from the street or whatever above.
The grating, that's it, from above, and he comes down and he takes a few shots at the Terminator. The Terminator just flies back, and it actually causes a hell of a lot of damage. I was thinking to myself, the kind of weaponry that they would have had at this stage. So as we see, Kyle Reese is a child. He's very young. Would their kind of artillery have been advanced enough to have that kind of effect on a Terminator?
They're using the Terminator guns themselves, aren't they? The things they've somehow, I guess, as they win the war and slowly edge through like these bases and outposts of SkyNet, they gather weapons and technology. That's why in the Salvation they've got machine guns, which are not that effective, which is set 15 years allegedly before this war, even though none of the films are connected. Like the Highlander films vary in quality because like different people buy the rights to the films and then they make their version of it, and as one of you guys rightly pointed out, they don't quite understand the what makes Terminator work and what makes certain characters, what the main characters work, or the franchise work, and that's why they're so patchy. But
talking about main characters working, it's Jason Clarke, isn't it?
You're not convinced by Jason Clarke.
Oh my god, if I was Kyle Reese and I looked up into that face, I'd be like, who the hell sent their geography teacher to come and save me? Like, he doesn't look like... He actually reminds me of my old geography teacher.
Everyone's
it's just like, who brought their dad along?
Everyone's favourite is the guy that played him in Mute in the second one, that kind of like swarthy model.
I'm actually of the opinion that I think if the first two movies are any, or even the third one in a way, are any indication, I actually think that the character of Kyle Reese, hero of the Resistance, is actually stronger in metaphor than Flesh.
You mean John Connor?
John Connor, yeah. I think John Connor as like the messianic hero that's going to save us all is actually his most powerful when he's like a mute shadow in a flashback.
A legend,
yeah, a legend, because the best John Connor is Edward Furlong, because the juxtaposition of like this snot-nosed Generation X punk, and he's gonna save the Resistance. Like you're like, how is this kid gonna save everyone? You know what I mean? And that's what makes T2 so groovy. And I think
when you actually articulate that, it falls apart because it's
because like nothing can ever really match up with the way. I mean, again, the way that Michael Biehn hypes up John Connor and Terminator, you're like, oh god, John Connor's a badass. Who is this guy?
Yeah, and then you see this little unassuming kid who listens to Guns N' Roses.
She's not my mother, Tom.
Go listen to your mother. She's not my
The
mother,
Galleria?
Todd.
The Galleria.
Easy money. Yeah, no, Edward Furlong I thought was great, but unfortunately he couldn't carry on doing the films because
Sure.
he chose a life.
I think my
that's
least.
not really his fault. He was kind of drafted in. I mean, a lot of kids that find fame that early kind of lose sight of things, don't they?
I mean, look at Britney. Jesus Christ.
well, he wasn't an actor. He was plucked by Marley Flynn, who saw him outside a store and just thought he looked a bit surly. And
He was
asked him to
robbing
come
an
in for
18.
audition. Yeah, she saw
Yeah,
that in him,
yeah.
and they kind of gave him a few weeks acting coaching, and then kind of like gusted him up for all these self tapes for Cameron.
Again, maybe that's why it worked so well because he was so raw.
Well, I
and
think
was
that's
so
why
close to
Newt
the actual
works in
character
Aliens.
himself.
She had never acted before, Carrie Henn, and I think because he wants that. They even say in the Aliens documentary, all the children that came in were like for commercials and kids shows, and they would always like smile and act a very particular, trained way. And he wanted someone that didn't have that quality. And I think he learned.
Someone that could
He
train
learned
up
from
themselves,
casting
yeah.
Carrie Henn, who wasn't an actress. You got that raw realness to them. You got a true, honest performance, which was very difficult for an actor to do. That's what they actually want, without it looking like hackneyed or kind of trained. And I think Edward Furlong obviously has that quality, and that's why he's very good in the second film because
Yeah.
he's not an actor.
I think the ultimate problem with trying to demystify John Connor is, I mean, you cast Jason Clarke as John Connor, and you just look at this guy, and you're like, you were not Eddie Furlong. Like, you were not that person. This doesn't make any sense, and it just.
There's no
Right, whereas
connection,
like
yeah.
Eddie Furlong growing up to be this mysterious badass in the future works because you don't see the ellipses in between
Yeah.
the 2 points.
The
So
criminal element of him is the thing that will keep him like tough and survive in the future, maybe because he's always the outsider.
exactly.
right. I also think as far as Jay Courtney being like kind of beefy in this movie, I mean Michael Biehn aside, if you take that out of the equation, which why would you? But for the sake of this conversation, sure. If you take it out of there, and if John Connor knows that Kyle is going to be his father, I could explain away his beefiness by like he feeds him well and keeps him healthy because he knows that he has to eventually go back and conceive him.
But again, with the dynamic between those two, I mean, you even see it in this 2 minutes, and it's actually one of the notes I made. Just when they're like, I don't know, they're at a rally or they're, just talking tactics and what they're going to do, you just see Jai just stood there in silence, just gazing at John, and it's like, whoa, man, that's really weird.
Guy feels, bro.
Everyone else is just kind of acting normal and being like, yeah, we're doing this, we're the resistance, we're going to beat SkyNet, and then you've just got Jai, who's just like biting his lip, just like,
Well, he's hero worship.
John.
It's
Well,
it's there because there's two things weird about it. Because like one, all right, I mean,
There's a dog barking. There's a Terminator in here. Get out of the house, one of you.
Dude, I was literally thinking that. I was like, there's a Terminator approaching. Seriously, get the fuck out.
there's certainly a bit of homoeroticism between these two guys early in the film.
There is
But there's also this weird thing that they play with that I wish they played with more. Actually, is the idea that Kyle sees John as a father figure, even though he's literally his father.
Yeah, and it's sort of the most fascinating part of this movie, honestly. And it's something I wish, again, like maybe if, I mean, I'm an evangelist. I think Captain Boomerang showed that there's more to him than meets the eye, and I'm looking forward to maybe some movies casting him not as like the hero's son, meant to take over the
Generic
film.
action guy.
Yeah, generic action guy.
I've said this about Sam Worthington as well, who was not very good, as you've said, rightfully so, in or doesn't have the screen to burn charisma that
He's better than Jai Courtney, though. Sorry, I'm just not.
Well,
a fan
Sam
at all.
Worthington, if you've seen the other Schwarzenegger film, Sabotage, he gets to play a character part in that as one of his kind of crew, and he's really good in that.
Oh.
So I think a bit like Val Kilmer. When you put Val Kilmer in the lead, I don't think Val Kilmer knows what to do with himself and loses his mind. But when you put him like in Tombstone, where he gets a supporting role, he kind of shines. And I think Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney, and Sam Worthington, to a lesser extent, I think if you put them behind the leading man and just give them a little kind of character role to play, they kind of shine better.
Sort of similar to Jason Clarke, honestly. Like he's pretty boring in this movie, but then you watch Zero Dark 30, where he's kind of a kind of morally
More like a John Connor type.
yeah, honestly, yeah. I do. Okay, so speaking of actors, I have a question that I would love. It's always bothered me, and I would love to get you guys' opinion.
Okay.
So, going back a few seconds into this movie, right when the Terminator shows up, we get a film credit for a Matthew Smith, whom we all know probably a little bit better as Matt Smith,
Doctor Who.
from Doctor Who. How do you feel about him changing his name for this movie? Because it always bugs me.
Oh, well, I think a lot of that. I mean, Larry Fishburne throughout. I think the 80s and 90s was Larry Fishburne,
Right.
And I think when he got to I think after he did Othello in '94, and then The Matrix, he became. I think it was at Othello, the turning point. He became Lawrence Fishburne. So I think it just adds they think it adds a layer of.
Is it like
a faux a dignity or kind of like.
Oh,
So
really?
you're saying
Is it not just trying to revamp your
Not
image?
image.
or,
I just
to
think
try-
well, I'm serious now. I'm in a big film. I want to be called. Give him my full name.
Well, but that's what I mean by revamping your image. You're kind of
Or
recreating
maybe just someone in the
yourself,
credits department just
a bit like
cooks it up and
Madonna
types
does
out his
every
full
10
name.
years. She just,
So you're saying that this movie
Yeah.
is Matt Smith considered it to be his Othello?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I don't know. That's really unless someone in the kind of who did the credits went, I'm going to put the full name and be like a pedantic,
Yeah.
what is it? What's that disease that not disease, that tick that Jack Nicholson has in As Good as It Gets? Asperger's. I need to make it
Asperger's, yeah.
proper and right. Maybe that's what happened.
Or maybe he asked them to switch it to Matthew Smith after he saw the movie and was like, "Uh-oh."
Because I know an actor called Chucky Venn, who's in Casualty, like this big. It's like ER for England, basically. But like on some credits, I did a film with him. He was Chucky Venn in this gangster film I did with him, and now he's Charles Venn. So his credit changes. I'm not sure if it just depends on the person who's implementing.
maybe
the
they became
credits,
Scientologists.
or whether you want to be seen as less as like it's an image thing, isn't it? It's how you're perceived. It's like, oh, I'm Larry Fishburne. I'm Chucky Venn.
Well,
no, I'm Charles Venn. I'm playing Othello.
Well, to add credence to Scott's theory, I'm on Wikipedia at the moment, and I'm looking at Matt Smith's pretty limited filmography. To be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised. But
They kind of plucked him out of nowhere, really, to kind of just he popped up. I mean, it happens occasionally. It's not in my experience when they just go, "We're going to take a chance on this kid." They put him straight out of the gate, right into Doctor.
They go, Ethan, you were great for the
so
role.
in
Yeah, cool.
Terminator Genesis, he is credited as Matthew Smith. But however, the very next year, this year, in the film Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, during his performance as Mr. Collins, he is credited as Matt Smith.
Maybe it's an American thing, though. They give him like some faux dignity because he's British and go, "We'll call him Matthew."
Yeah.
And in England, he's known as
maybe.
He's known because of Doctor Who as Matt Smith. So maybe if you market the film in England as Matthew Smith,
Maybe it's to disassociate.
no one would
him from
recognise
it.
him as the guy from Doctor Who. You'd see the poster.
Yeah, maybe it's so he can disassociate
Maybe in America he's
himself
Matthew
from
Smith, and here he's Matt Smith. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
who is Matt.
Apparently, he's in a Netflix series about Queen Elizabeth II, where he plays Prince Philip.
Okay.
So, and hopefully that'll. And
I
then
think that's just started here this week in England.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
Let me know how it goes. And is that, speaking of Doctor Who people playing members of the royal family, isn't Jenna Coleman also playing like Queen Victoria or something?
I think. Well, there's two. There's one called Versailles, which is about the French royal court.
Okay.
That's a gigantic thing. Everyone's going crazy for that.
A
over here right now.
gigantic, if you will.
Jai.
You ruin it. Yeah, that's like
Nice.
it's like shot beautifully and everyone looks very pretty, even the boys in it. It's like everyone's perfect looking. I'm not sure how historically accurate it is, but everyone's going nuts for that right now. It's called Versailles. That's like a French-English co-production. There's Victoria, which I might be getting confused with what you're talking about now, which started this week about a young Queen Victoria. Is that not what you're talking about?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that stars Jenna, formerly Jenna Louise Coleman. Speaking of name changes, as Victoria, I think.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, Jenna Louise Coleman, who was the Doctor Who assistant, and now she's playing Victoria. I've just Googled it. Yes.
She's a terrific actress. I hope that series is good.
God bless Google.
Well, his past assistant, she became. She went into Guardians of the Galaxy, didn't she?
Oh, that was actually Karen Gillan.
Yes, the redheaded chick.
Yeah, that was the previous companion. I'm watching these 2 minutes on a loop, and every time.
Oh, me too. It's kind of numbing my brain.
Same.
Every time John Clark comes
Clarke.
on, or Jason Clarke comes on
Just
screen.
a bunch of
Bill,
random
John,
Sams and
Bill Connor.
and Jais.
Yeah, John Connor, Jason Clarke combined into one person. I keep getting like a heavy Mr. Rogers vibe
Hilarious.
Like he's doing sort of a Mr. Rogers John Connor, where he's just
I need to hear Kyle.
yeah, like instead of being a good leader, he's just trying to be charming, and he's doing neither as a result.
I mean, you look at this.
You
You look
failed
at
at
the
both.
scene where everyone's just kind of cheering around him and Jai's just kind of hanging back. They're just so happy to be near John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very
It is weird.
charismatic.
But did anyone else notice the homage back to Terminator 2 where, well, they do it in quite a few of the films now, where they put the hands down and it's the come with me if you want to live kind of. So that's the massive homage back to Terminator 2 when they're in the insane asylum and Arnie first, grabs Linda Hamilton and pulls her up. I think that was quite.
And we'll have an
similar
even
to this
and we'll have an
little
even
moment.
more on the nose callback to that line later on in future minutes.
We will.
Do we?
Exactly. This guy's watched the movie.
Before John Connor comes down into that pipe to save Kyle, what was he doing immediately before that? Like, how did he know that there is a Terminator down there and a kid to save?
Because he's John Connor.
Does the dog bark?
That's all you need to know. The dog
Maybe he
does
hears the
bark,
dog
yeah.
barking and he's like, well, dogs only bark at two things. Humans and Terminators.
Yeah.
Either
was
way,
gonna
I
say-
need to be there.
There's a dog barking.
Me and
Oh my
Ellie had a
God.
theory on why everyone looks so well fed in the future. Is if you destroyed or captured a Terminator, that meat would technically be good to eat, I'd assume, if it was biological material and protein.
It would just
Well,
be flesh,
but-
wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would
Well,
just be.
that's what I mean, but if you cooked it, instead of eating rats, I guess it'd be quite a gourmet thing to eat a Terminator, bit of ass cheek.
Well, no, because there's no muscle on it. There's
No,
no
you
muscle.
are.
It's just flesh.
It'd be like
So
eating the skin of
it'd
a
be like
chicken.
eating pork rinds.
I always imagine there'd be some kind of structure of the tissue because, the body would just, if it was just like a thin layer of skin on the robotic body, it would just tear, wouldn't it? I don't know. It's a, I don't know. Just forget it. We're wrong, Ellie.
We're just trying to spice up their
I
diet.
think it's more towards. I think we're gonna look back at this era of blockbuster filmmaking as kind of like the age of the beef cakes. Like we see like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt and every leading actor just has to get rippled with muscle and
Yeah.
I mean, you look back at Die Hard and Bruce Willis is relatively kind of lean and normal.
Well, he broke the paradigm, didn't it?
But
'Cause
he
you had
does
a
look quite
decade of
normal,
Stallone
doesn't
and
he?
Schwarzenegger, and then they just put this regular-looking guy in a
I mean,
fantastical
can you imagine
situation.
Keanu Reeves being in Speed if they made that in 2016?
Oh no! Well, I mean, that was one of the many kind of not knockoffs, but kind of close quarters with traps.
Oh, yeah,
in
Die Hard
building
on a
and
bus.
plane
Right.
and
Yeah.
on a boat, which I saw the second one for the first time 3 weeks ago. Oh my god! I want my life back. I'm so glad I put it off for.
I want my life back.
Have you got anything else to add, anyone, before we wrap up?
They are all my notes.
Scott, go
go
first.
ahead, Nick. Okay. Well, I really
Okay.
like that their base is in a theater. I I don't know what it is about that, but I just like that they've taken over a theater and they've just set up a base of operations there. I think that's kind of cool.
Well,
Well,
I
you
can't
escape
say
from
that
New
It's
York,
quite
isn't it?
theatrical.
Scott is a sucker for dilapidated theaters as a setting.
I like vaudeville, see? Meh.
Have you seen Baron Munchausen?
Oh, yeah.
That's got an old theatre.
Well, and Escape from New York, the
Love that
prisoners are
movie.
putting on. I think it's Pirates of Penzance,
Yeah,
isn't
they
it, or something?
are.
And the snake comes in the back.
The
and they're
Pirates
putting
of
on a big
Penzance,
show.
amazing.
Well, that killed the podcast.
What other films can we think when there's dilapidated?
I'm ashamed that I can name this off the top of my head, but the fourth Transformers movie, there's a scene where Mark Wahlberg.
think we found a transformer.
For the just for my own respect, I have not seen that movie, so I don't know about that one. But
Yeah, no, I have
yeah,
no
before
idea. I've not seen any.
sign off, we'll give you guys your due. Tell us a little bit about back. I'm sure everyone knows more about your show than ours, but if anyone listens to ours and has not heard of.
Plug
There's any
it,
morons out
guys.
there who doesn't know about the Other Minute podcast. It's the start of our All-Star Week. Back to the Future Minute. You've got one more season left,
Take
right?
it
You've
away.
got 3 coming up.
Right.
You're on the credits of 2.
yeah. I think, when does this come out?
This will be out Wednesday. You're the 3rd one. We've got Steele Saunders of Steel Wars, a famous Australian comedian, tomorrow. Me and Ellie did the first one, just talking about the box office and the film, why it was made, was it part of a
Opening
trilogy,
credits.
etc. You guys are number 3. Airport Minute Jim is 4, and Ghostbusters Minute will round out the week on 5, and then hopefully we've got As If, Aliens, and Back to the Future Minute. Rewind. The other Wrath of Khan, Alien Minute, and the other one's basically the following weekend.
The other ones,
The other
ones.
Yeah, so I guess we should be in our last final week then when this is coming out of part 2. We're actually recording our last handful of episodes tomorrow for part 2, and then we're going on a hiatus until next year.
Oh wow!
And
well, people can donate to your Patreon account while you're still away, right?
Yeah, we do a weekend edition there. Yeah,
we do a weekend
Are you
edition.
going to try and keep it alive? Sorry, I interrupted you. I was going to say, you're going to try and keep it alive when the film runs out. You're going to maybe do other one-offs of the animated series or little bits and dabs like that?
No, we have another thing that we're going to do after.
Well, and also, yeah, and to answer so people all the time are like, because Back to the Future, unlike Terminator and certainly unlike Star Wars, there's kind of a limited canon in Back to the Future. Which
is lucky.
Yeah, so our
that's not always
totally.
bad.
So our weekend edition is actually when we would cover we're covering the comic book. Which is really good. We're trying to avoid covering the animated series for as long as possible, and we're covering Robert Zemeckis' old movies. So that weekend edition, which is going to continue through the hiatus, will be when we talk about other Back to the Future stuff. And but if you are donating to our Patreon, I love you and I owe you a Gungan life debt, but. Also,
I'll stick with the Wookiee life debt.
Wookiee life debt, yeah. There's a lot of life debts in that universe.
No one likes Gungans.
Yeah, and so that Patreon page is actually also for our production company in general, Dueling Genre Productions, which we also have a number of other projects in the works. Scott, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you need to build a new audience when everyone that's hooked into you from Back to the Future? Is it kind of like half starting from scratch because you started with a new product, even though it's you guys, and you'll get some carryover from Back to the Future Minute, but some people might just go, oh, well, they're done and we don't know what happened, or I don't know. Would it be a struggle to kind of regrow an audience again?
I don't think so, because the thing that we're planning on doing next has a lot of carryover, we think. Right. So while we will lose, I'm sure, a bunch of people when we do the new thing. We'll also be gaining a bunch of new people, which will be good.
Yeah, and then we also simultaneously with Back to the Future, we also do a podcast called The Doctor's Companion with our incredible, I love her so much, Cassandra Fredrickson. And so that's gonna go as forever because Doctor Who's never gonna end. And but the crown jewel, the thing that we're sort of the most proud of, are Scott and I are executive producers of an original audio drama series called Geek by Night. Which is it's about to wrap up its first season. It's kind of a.
Well, I mean, not really. We're still months away from that.
We're still months away, but we're past the halfway point, and it's like an original. It's like a comedy drama. It really kind of inspired by Gilmore Girls and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's about a group of kids in their mid-20s that run a comic book shop together, but then also get superpowers and shenanigans ensue.
It's Chronicle meets Clerks.
Yeah, oh my God! Oh wow, whoa, dude, we need you to do our marketing.
That's really good. Thank you for.
Chronicle meets Clerks.
We're gonna steal that. Thank you.
Calls.
Ethan, you should
and we have a cool international cast. We actually have one of our favorite cast members, Naomi Wong, is across the pond with you guys. I don't know exactly where she's living.
I think she's London adjacent.
London adjacent.
Yeah. I think
she would actually be a really good guest for you guys. Actually, she's really just cool.
Yeah. Well, now we've got Zencast and stuff.
Nice.
It's so easy to get.
We do want more females.
Yeah, to get people on the show. No, absolutely. We'll connect each other. But yeah, no, my hat's off to you. The amount of work you guys do, and some of the other guys that do multiple podcasts. I do this to get these out every day, and plus do these 2 or 3 shows a month with Questionable, where I interview various people from around the world is hard enough, as well as working and stuff. So yeah, it's no easy feat, listeners, but if you really like podcasting or you want to try it, please do. It's very rewarding, despite what Ellie says. Season 5. I'm just
God,
kidding.
you make up the
Anyway,
Love
if you
it.
want to find the Back to the Future Guys Minute, you can find them on Back to the Future Minute or BTF Minute, BTTF Minute on Twitter, right?
Yeah, we're on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff, and then our website is duelinggenre.com. Or if you want to go directly to the Back to the Future stuff, you can just go to backtothefutureminute.com. It'll link you directly to those.
And you
Yeah,
can
but
link
everything's
directly,
kind of
obviously,
under
through the umbrella.
Right.
Yeah, duelinggenre.com will lead you to everything.
Yep.
Well, awesome. Scott and Nick, again, thank you so much. One, for connecting me and having me on your show. Thank you. I had a lovely time. For me finding about Zencastr, which is making this show absolutely possible and sound like a professional radio show for the first time ever after 93,000 episodes. And, of course, you can find us on ethanmckinley.com, which is houses under my umbrella of both my shows. You can find links to all the other Minute podcasts and all the forthcoming guests, including Scott and Nick, Back to the Future Minute, Star Wars Minute, Airport Minute, Jaws Minute, Wrath of Khan Minute. I'm running out of things. Oh, As If,
Alien
Clueless Minute, Alien Minute.
Actually,
and of course,
I think Jaws Minute is officially done.
They'll do two. You've got to do two.
No. I mean, he stopped in the middle of it. He didn't even finish the movie.
Oh crap!
Yeah, he's
was eaten by
officially in the Minute family. In the Minute family, he's officially the black sheep because he got out of there halfway through the movie.
Dear. Oh god.
Yep.
Yeah, it's.
What does that make us? We do 2 minutes.
Well, we do kind of less the work. Do you want to do this you want to do another 2.5 years of this?
And you guys are veterans at that point. I mean, you've been through 4 movies.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we were the first ones to start. I think that's why ours is more slapdash compared to everyone else's minutes. Or yours are very kind of like.
Plus, I've never done radio or
Professionally
anything,
done.
so I'm a complete noob.
I mean,
I've
you're on your 5th one. You're not exactly a noob anymore, Ellie.
No. But the first one and the second one, kind of, we were a bit wishy-washy. I was trying to do my own thing and not try and copy Star Wars Minute directly. But I think...
Oh, we had no qualms about copying them directly.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do because Ghostbusters Minute, you listen to their show or your show, it sounds very beautifully produced and it sounds nice. It
sounds
deals directly with the
professional.
show in question instead of just going
So
off the range
professional.
sometimes.
Like,
But,
oh,
yeah.
God. What show is
Listeners
that?
and viewers, in fact, you can actually watch us, Mystery Science Theatre 3K style, as we watch the clip over and over again. You can watch the clip on repeat with Scott, myself, Nick, and Ellie's commentary, as we do with all the shows, on YouTube. If you go to Terminator on YouTube, the show should be there. If you don't find it immediately, it's because I'm battling the copywriters, and it will be up there shortly. I've done this with every episode from the start, and I've always fought and won. As long as they know you're not presenting the full film,
Just like
the
the
soundtrack, and you're only presenting a portion of it, and you're actually doing something in service or advertising their property in a sense, they're okay with it. So,
Let's see how
and
Paramount
that goes for
reacts.
you guys. If you ever
Like
need any
Jason-
information on Universal, Paramount, I know basically everyone, and I've emailed them back and forth and have good relations with all the owners of these properties. So it's quite easy if you come unstuck on YouTube, I assure you. So if anyone needs help out there listening, or you guys on the show, Scott and Nick, ask me and I can usually furnish you with an
Thank you.
answer.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, thank you again so much. Episode 3's in the can, first week out, 2-minute Terminator, Terminator Genesis. Thank you all for listening. Welcome everyone, new listeners and viewers to the new show. And Scott and Nick, I owe you more than I care to mention. Well, mainly Zencastr and having me on the show. But thank you so much. You've been wonderful. And thank you all,
Thank you.
listeners. I love you all.
Hasta la vista.
Okay, we're done. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
fun. Absolutely.
Watch out for machines. They're unstoppable. Watch out for machines. They will rule the world. I'll be back.